3, 2, 1.
Okay, yeah. So my issue with the operation of the conscious edits is that it seems as if it's a justification for Muhammad being wrong, which is, in your mind, you think that there's no possibility for him to be wrong. So therefore, you're giving me an example of how he's not wrong, which is he's correcting something. So the passage that I gave you last time was Zachariah. Okay, so we can start with that one, and then we can also move to other passages as well too, and other instances where he mentions a bunch of other things that are inside and outside of the Bible. Now, in the Quran, it says Zachariah could not speak for 3 days and 3 nights, or 3 nights, depending on which translation you read. But as you can tell in Luke 1, it's for the entire term of the pregnancy. Zachariah could not speak. Okay, after he came out of the temple and he found out Elizabeth was pregnant. And then from there, he had to wait until she gave birth. And then even after that, he had to name the baby John before he could speak. That's the story in the Bible. Muhammad retells this story, and it says 3 nights. So the way that you reconcile it is, he consciously edited the story. How do you come to that conclusion?
Sure. So there's layers to that story where you could say it's a conscious edit, but then there's other layers where it's not so clear. So that's not the clearest example I would bring of there being a conscious edit, because there's not enough maybe proof to show that this is conscious. Now, for example, the 9 months and 3 days thing. Yeah. I could give a reason to show holistically why that's a conscious edit in part with other things. But I think that the clearest example of a conscious edit in this instance is the whole punishment of Zachariah and him being silenced. So the first thing I would say is that we have in the Quran instances where there's differences with the Bible, just to make it clear. There's differences between the Quran and the Bible where you can't say necessarily it's a conscious edit, because there's not enough evidence there to show that the author is motivated by doing a conscious edit. Mm-hmm. There could just be a difference. And for those ones, it has to be that I have reasons to believe Islam is true, therefore I take this version over the Bible. Okay? So that's going to be in those instances. Now, there's other instances that show he's not doing an absolute confirmation, which is going to be the conscious edits. One example, which I'll work with what you brought, even though that's not the best example, I would say, but I'll still work with it. The one example is him being punished in this example, and him being silenced in this way. The Quran doesn't depict this as a type of punishment. Rather, Zachariah is depicted as an obedient servant in chapter 3 of the Quran and in Surah Maryam. In the context of Surah Maryam, where he prays to God for a child, is when he looks in Surah Al Imran, it's around the verse 100. He sees Mary being given all these foods and so on, and he says, wow, like, I want in on this. I want these miracles are great. God gave it to you. Okay, let me pray to God. Now that I've seen he gave you this miraculous food and so on, let me pray to him, because I know he is the granter of prayers. So that's the context in Surah Al-Imran. It gives us to Surah Maryam. So it doesn't make any sense in the worldview of the Quran that the punishment, the silencing of Zechariah was in the context of a punishment, when the whole context is about him being an obedient servant. The author of the Quran knows his silencing. The author of the Quran knows other contexts in Luke 1 and Luke 2 that I can show. And he edits the part, or you could say omits, the part where it's in the context of it being a punishment. So that would be the edit there.
Now, when you say he knows, who is the he? Is the he Muhammad or Allah?
It's the author of the Quran, whoever you want to say it is.
Well, but that's the problem that I have with the conscious edit, because if the author could be who I say it is, then that means that the conversation isn't grounded in anything. Because when you say the author of the Quran, we have to know who that is, because if it's Muhammad and it's a human being, then therefore I could have a conversation with you about him hearing.
Yeah, so it's definitely not Allah in this context we're discussing. I'm granting you from the external perspective, not internal, that you're assessing a human being as the author of the Quran. That's what I'm telling whoever you want it to be. because you're not going to say it's Allah, are you? So whoever you want it to be, Prophet Muhammad, a group of people, whatever.
Right.
I'm talking about them. Whoever you want to take it to be.
Right, because you're pushing back on my narrative of him getting something wrong, and you're saying
Exactly,
that can't be possible because he's correcting it, which means that he has knowledge of what he's correcting. Okay, so the author of the Quran is Muhammad. Is it possible for Muhammad to hear a wrong story and retell it?
That's possible. However, it's not likely given the fact that we can show that the author of the Quran has detailed knowledge of these scriptures.
Okay, so the example that I gave is him having, let's say, knowledge of something that was out there, but you have no indication that it's actually coming out of the scriptures. For example, the story of Zachariah, you have no indication anywhere in the Quran that this story is found in Luke 1. It's just him retelling that story. So how do you know that this shows that he has knowledge of what's in those scriptures just because he repeated something? Because I could say the same for the parable of the mustard seed, which is also found in Thomas and not in the canonical. So how are we justifying this knowledge?
So the issue with that Thomas thing is not a good point, because we have no reason to think that the Gospel of Thomas is circulating rather than the Gospels. That's the first thing. The fourfold gospel.
Well, it's not about scripture circulating, it's about stories.
Yeah, the scripture, stories, whatever. There's no evidence that the Gospel of Thomas is circulating, so we prefer there is evidence circulating.
Not the Gospel of Thomas, the story itself, the parable, what Jesus said is circulating for orally. Because Muhammad couldn't. If Muhammad was given an Arabic text, if Muhammad was given a Hebrew text, a Greek text, he wouldn't have been able to read it. Your guys' narrative is he couldn't read nor write. So no matter what was around him, if he couldn't read it nor write it, he had to hear everything that he said. So if my position is that he heard the wrong story and retold it, or heard something and retold it wrong and inaccurate, then that still stands, because you just said that he's able to do that, but it's less than likely, right? That's what you're arguing, that's less than likely.
Yeah, it's not likely, given the fact that he knows too much for him to make a mistake like that. So we can go through sort of.
What's your indication that he knows too much? That's what I want to. Where do you get that he knows too much?
Okay, so one example I'll give you from Surah Maryam. I'll still work within your example, but I want to get to one of my examples as well after.
Okay.
So your example, we do have indications that he knows stuff. So for example, if we go here to,
well, I'm not arguing that he doesn't know anything. You said this can't be true because he knows too much. That's why I was saying, what do you mean by too much? Because obviously he spoke on this stuff, so he heard it from that's from my position. He heard it from somewhere. So yeah, he knows about these things, but he doesn't know if he's accurately representing them out of the scriptures. That's what I'm saying.
Sure. So the case I'm telling you is this is too much for someone to just be illiterate, not knowledgeable of the let's say the Hebrew or the Greek or whatever it might be. Okay. So I'll give you one example from Surah Maryam. So there's a verse in Surah Maryam. Let me just pull it up. Here we go. So in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in verse 13, here it is. Yeah. So verse 13, it says, وَحَنَانًا مِن ladunna, right? So it says here in the Arabic, wahananan. Now, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala calls John Yahya, right? But he also knows his name Yohannan. What's the evidence? The evidence is this term Hananan, right? Which means as well as purity and compassion from us, and he was God-fearing. This term Hananan is used only once in the entire Quran, and it's used in the context of John the Baptist. Hananan has the same root meaning in the Semitic root to the Hebrew word for Yohannan, which is John's actual name in the Gospels. So this shows if he knows John's name to the point where he can make word plays in the Arabic with it and know the meaning of it, how is he then getting simple stuff wrong? Like he doesn't know how many days it is in the text.
Yeah, well, you have to identify that he knows that this is coming from the text. Because if you're dealing with my position and you're trying to refute my position is that he isn't talking to God. My position is that he's hearing the wrong story. But your position to refute my position is that he's consciously editing something out of Luke.
Yeah.
So you're saying, where did he get 3 days and 3 nights, or the 3 nights, 3 days, whatever? You saying, where did he get that from? That's the point. The point is, we don't know, because the story was already told out. The story was already existing, and it wasn't that he couldn't speak for 3 days and 3 nights. That's the point. Where did he get this from?
And my point is, he's not getting the 3 days from anywhere. Okay, so my point of showing you this is that he knows too much for him to just be haphazardly taking stuff orally. Okay, that's my point of me showing you stuff like this. He knows the Hebrew, he knows what it means, he knows also the context of the story in Luke, like I'm going to show, right? So I could give you a reason why 3 days is used, and
but if he heard the story,
not 9 months.
But if he heard the story, wouldn't it?
But where's the evidence he heard the story of it being 3 days? You don't have it. You don't have the story.
Because if my position, is that Muhammad never spoke to God about this story, then where else would he get it from? He wouldn't just is he just randomly speaking about things? And here's the thing: even in your Quran, they literally talk down on him.
Call him the ear,
for repeating stories of old. And so we know that he heard things. He was around people. Even in your hadith system, you have people coming around representing scriptures, translating it, and etc. So it's not as if Muhammad wasn't able to hear something from anybody. And what I'm saying is that there's overwhelming evidence that Muhammad did hear a lot of these stories and just mashed it all in. This is the reason why you have a mashing of the different things that the Jews said. You have a bunch of stuff that the Christians said. You have a bunch of fables that made it into there. You have a bunch of stories like the Testament of Solomon that's outside of the Quran, outside of biblical scripture, that even made it into your Quran as well too.
That doesn't matter. So the point here is, before we get into what he's repeating, before we get into actually whether these things that the Quran is confirming is actually historically true, that's independent of what we're talking about. What we're talking about here is actually, did the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ mix up stories, and he doesn't have intimate knowledge of these things? We're disputing that before we get whether something's historical or not.
You
make the point that he's hearing.
The evidence that he mixed up stories is if
just let me finish, brother. I just let you speak.
Just 2 seconds, please, bro.
You got 5 seconds. Go on.
Okay, the evidence that he mixed up and retold stories wrong is your Quran itself, because we can go read the story that existed before him. Hundreds of years before he was born, these stories were out there, documented, and he retold them. That's the evidence.
Now the evidence. I got you. So the evidence that it's wrong is independent from, is he doing intentional edits to these stories? So the intentional edit to this story, we're going to deal with first. Then I'll show you that he's getting it more historically true afterwards. I'll show you in specific here with Surah Maryam. He's getting it more historically true.
But you have to give me a verse.
I'll show you why. Now,
you have to give me a verse that the retelling of a story inaccurate to what it was originally is a correction. You can't just read a verse and show me something
and that's what I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you that now with in the context of the 3 days. I'm going to show you how it's an intentional edit. All right, just give me a sec here. Let me get the source up as well. All right, so okay. So here we go. So the 3 days here, if we just read, let's find it. John, before, my Lord, how can I have a son? My wife is barren. And the angel replied, so will it be. And then Zachariah said, my Lord, grant me a sign. Your sign is that you will not be able to speak to the people for 3 nights despite being healthy. Okay, so in Luke, he wasn't able to speak for 9 months. The Quran says you won't be able to speak for 3 days. The 9 months is a punishment until he writes down John's name. So the Quran changes John's name from Yohanan to Yahya because the name is associated with something having to do with Zachariah's punishment that the Quran isn't affirming. This shows he's not mixing up stuff. There's something intentional going on here. Instead of it being Yohanan, it is Yahya. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala he still describes him with his name that's ascribed, right? Furthermore, with the whole 3 days thing, here it says 3 nights. The Gospel of Luke says 9 months. Why 3 nights? Because it's not a punishment where he's going to stop speaking after 9 months when the baby is born. Rather, it's linked to what? Him impregnating his wife. him impregnating his wife, the sign that she is no longer barren and she's able to bear a child is after the 3 nights when she becomes impregnated with Yahya. Okay, so the story shifts. However, it shifts in a fashion that is consistent, where we have John being elevated, his also his father being elevated in this instance, and there's even an equalization between John and Jesus. In the Gospel of Luke, in Luke, I believe 1 or 2, it mentions how the people of Israel, the kingdom of Israel, will be handed over to Jesus, and he will rule over them. In the Quran, there's an equalization also with John the Baptist, because what do we find here? So we have, 1 second. Yeah, sorry, someone just came in. Yeah. So my point here was that in the Gospel of Luke, give me a second, I'll pull it up. And I'm concerned about the faith of my relatives after me, since my wife is barren, who inherit prophethood from me and the family of Jacob. So the Quran is trying to do an equalization where there's John the Baptist's status is being elevated, and there's no disregard of John the Baptist. Okay. So I'm going to pull this up from the Gospel of Luke so you can see what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And I'll let you respond, okay?
Yeah. So everything that you've shown me so far is, as I said, you're showing me a difference. You're not showing me that it's correcting anything. Anyone can retell something and tell a different story. There are plenty of narratives out there that try to tell a story of Jesus and what he did, but it's outside of the alignment with the biblical narrative. So if it's a cope to say, oh well, no, this person isn't wrong, he's correcting it, and this is the reason why I'm bringing this to you. And what you just showed me in the Quran was literally him just simply saying something different. I don't have an issue.
You're not understanding that. You're not understanding. Okay. So what was the reason I gave? I want to see if you're understanding my point.
No, I understand your point, but I'm saying
I don't want to talk past each other. One second. I don't want to talk past each other. So what was the reason I gave where the 9 months turned into 3 days? What was the reason? Can you just tell me?
Dean, because you're saying that it wasn't a punishment. I heard you.
Exactly.
The problem is that that's still a difference in the story. Was it a punishment in Luke?
Yeah, and Luke was punished,
okay.
Of course.
Was it not a punishment? Well, okay. Was it a non-punishment, just a sign in the Quran?
Yes, and that's the elevation of Zachariah. Yes.
You call it elevation. I call it him telling the story wrong. So address how it's a correction, because you're admitting that he told the story different.
Okay. Do you know why it's intentional? Do you know why it's intentional and not him telling the story wrong?
I don't want you to tell me it's intentional.
Okay,
I want you to
do you believe it's intentional or not?
I want you to use your Quran to prove to me that it's intentional, not just show me a change.
But do you believe it's intentional? Do you believe it's intentional?
I believe that he heard a false story and repeated something wrong. So yes.
Where's the full story?
I don't believe that he. Go ahead. Hold on, Dean. I don't believe that he intentionally changed Luke 1, because if I were to give him Luke 1, he wouldn't even be able to read it. So if he could not read nor write, and he's not talking to God, who is he talking to, and where did he get these stories from?
Yeah, that's the point. Your hypothesis would have to change. Your hypothesis would have to change from. It's not. This is a false dichotomy. It doesn't have to be. It's the prophet. He's illiterate. He doesn't know what he's talking about, and it's coming from God. That's a false dichotomy. It could also be. Let me finish. It could also be maybe
this
it's
is the
not
necessary
just
conclusion. Though,
yeah. Just let me finish. It could also be a third conclusion. Maybe you're wrong. Maybe the author is more than just someone who's just hearing stories. Maybe there was someone behind it that wasn't the prophet, that actually knew more than someone who's illiterate.
Okay,
right?
Well, if you want to hang Muhammad repeating stories false over and over and over again on a maybe he just corrected it, well, then that's up to you. But you haven't provided evidence from your book of
How do you know it's wrong?
Because of Luke 1.
Brother,
the reason why we know it's wrong is because my position.
Are you talking about historically wrong, or are you talking about he's reflecting the story wrong?
He's retelling the story wrong, and that's
when you say wrong. You mean when you say wrong, you mean historically, or he's wrongly transmitting the story from Luke?
Luke has the original story.
How do you know?
Until proven otherwise. This story existed in Luke 1 before Muhammad was even born.
Okay.
It predates Muhammad by hundreds of
got you.
years. So now,
Okay.
Muhammad repeats that story wrong. That my evidence stands. You are giving me a maybe. I'm giving you something that's facts.
I got you. All right.
He repeats the story wrong. Can we at least admit that? From Luke 1, he repeats the story wrong.
Oh yeah. Okay. So you have an assumption here that if it's different from Luke, therefore it's wrong, and I don't grant that assumption. Now, there are circulating stories that are different stories of the nativity of Jesus that are circulating. Do we agree on this? There's a different story that Matthew has that Luke has. Do we agree on this?
There's a different story that Matthew and Luke has. No, I don't agree. I believe that
I
believe that the canonical, I believe the canonical gospel authors are in unison with their teachings and preachings of what Jesus did. But
I got you.
We don't want to. Let's not shift to that.
No. But it's very relevant, because now I can posit, if it's the scholarly consensus point that Matthew has his own nativity story, Luke has his own nativity story, then there is the true nativity story that is circulating that they're adjusting. One has the virgin birth in a different way. Luke has the virgin birth in his own way. Then you could say, yeah, there's multiple other versions circulating that they have common material from. However, there's differing material between each other because they're giving different stories.
Yeah,
now that's the scholarly consensus.
And we can deal with that on a later date, but we're dealing with Muhammad, who you believe is a prophet, in Matthew and Luke and Mark and John were all in unison trying to preach the same message. Muhammad was just simply not, because you're opposing that he's changing the things that they taught and preached. So now you have to deal with Muhammad, and that's a whole completely different thing. So the issue is Muhammad here, who's supposed to be a prophet, who's supposed to be a part of the Abrahamic faith, who's pointing you back to these gospels. 4136 says anyone who denies these books have gone astray. You have to justify why he's telling people that these books are true, and then why he's retelling stories that are found within and without of those books accurately and inaccurately at times. So when I gave you this,
your life, just finish up because I have to go. So I'll come back. Okay.
So when I gave you this position here, right, on Luke, and the reason why I gave this is because I feel like it's one of the most detrimental ones, because we can clearly see the story being retold wrong, and for me, it seems like what I heard from you is that you said it was maybe it could be this. So I'm hearing an assumption from you, but I'm actually hearing actual facts from me, which is I can pull Luke and I can show you the story that existed before Muhammad was even born, and I can show you Muhammad repeated it in his Quran. I actually have the evidence that he retold this story wrong.
All right, I got you. So look, I'm gonna say my bit here, and then I'm gonna head out. I'm gonna drop you, and I'll be back in about 5 minutes. Okay. So my bit is in response to that, the fact that Luke's nativity story isn't the earliest one we have. We have Matthew's. Now Matthew differs from Luke. That's my position. That's the scholarly consensus.
What is the nativity
and the fact that, brother, I just let you speak, man. I need to go. Just let me make.
But the nativity story
we can carry on and go back. Life. We can carry on and go back and forth once I come back. Just let me say the statement and I'll come back, okay? So, and don't interrupt me because I didn't interrupt you right now. So the point being is Matthew, we have a nativity story that comes before Luke. I'm taking the scholarly consensus that says they are taking from common material. Matthew and Luke take from common material. That's why they both have a virgin story. But they're also taking from different material, or they're adding their own stuff. That's why there's differences. The evidence itself that that's the case is the fact that Matthew and Luke both exist. They have different stories, and they both tell stories about a virgin. That means there's a previous story talking about the virgin story that we can posit is the original one, which is going to be the Quran's one. That's the evidence. Now, I can give you more evidence once I come back. We'll discuss more about the reason why it's consciously edited, and then I will give you the historical account why I believe the Quran's account is more historical. So let me just come back and we'll do that, okay?
Okay, so is this like an accurate 5 minutes or what?
Yeah, just about five to 10 minutes or something, like 5 minutes minimum, 10 minutes max. I'll just need to go pray, and I'll be back. Okay.
All right, cool.
All right. Can you hear me?
Yo.
Yo, okay, I can hear you as well. All right, 1 second. All right. All right, guys. So we agreed before that we're gonna continue again for another 15 minutes. So I'll stop here at 1:45 where I'm at, 1:45 p.m. And then we'll continue on to the Christian dilemma that I wanted to run during the stream. And then at 2 p.m. my time, I'm gonna end the stream. Okay. So let's continue here. So what point we're at? Still on this John the Baptist.
Yeah. So we're still on you being able to prove that this is a conscious edit and not an actual just false retelling of the story.
All right. So I'll give you one last point, right? So the last point is going to be that there's an equalization between Jesus and John the Baptist within the stories that shows that it is intentional. The Gospels, the Gospel of Luke in particular, denigrates the family of John the Baptist, and that's why the Quran comes and elevates Zachariah and elevates John the Baptist. One example I can give you, besides the fact that the name change happens, so the name isn't associated with the sin.
Can I just add this because I think you're still not getting what I'm saying. Your reasoning as to why he said what he said and his thought process on why he was saying it, I have no problem with that. My point is that if it doesn't,
so you're agreeing it's conscious?
No, I don't agree. Oh well, okay. I agree. Yeah, it's not a conscious edit.
Conscious
not
edit.
A conscious.
Okay.
No, not a conscious edit. Yeah, no. See, because I can't say yes to that, and then you put edit behind it. I don't agree that it's a conscious edit. I agree that he's saying what he's saying. Like he's saying what he's saying. Now,
that'd be for a reason, right?
Well, of course, if he heard this story and he truly believes that what he heard and what he's repeating to other people is true, then yes, he's consciously giving them the story that he believes is true. I don't have a problem with that. Even if you give me a breakdown on why you think he did it and who he's elevating and who he's not, that still does not clear up the fact that the prior story was told different. So you're saying that he's doing this in light of correcting something where nowhere in your Quran does it ever say any of these biblical passages are being corrected by a Muhammad's revelation or Muhammad the words.
No, I got you. Okay, live. So I'm gonna just so everyone's tracking here, so everyone can understand what's being said. We have two things. We have one, there's two hypotheses, and we're not going to get into whether it's historical or not, or whether, Gospel of Luke is the earliest. We'll get to that in a second. We'll get to that after. First, we're going on the segment of he is saying something intentionally. Now, either he's saying it intentionally this way because he's taking it from a source other than the Gospel of Luke, and then he says the wrong story. There's that hypothesis, what you're saying. Or there's the second hypothesis, which I'm positing. I'm positing there isn't a conspiracy oral tradition where John the Baptist is elevated and Zachariah is elevated. Mm-hmm. I'm saying there's no conspiracy oral tradition. Rather, he hears the Gospel of Luke he knows the Gospel of Luke, and then he edits it consciously. That's my point.
That's the point. So he hears the Gospel of Luke from who and when? You don't have to give me a name of the person, but I'm just saying from who. When did Muhammad ever come in contact with the Gospel of Luke, therefore correcting it?
Okay. Is it more likely he's hearing it from someone transmitting the Gospel of Luke or a conspiracy oral tradition?
I'm saying that he's hearing it from someone, not someone who's right in front of him with the Gospel of Luke. No, I don't agree with that. So I'm asking you, if you're posing that, I'm posing that he heard stories. I'm not posing that Muhammad was sitting down with somebody with the Gospel of Luke. I'm not posing.
Why not? Why not?
Because it wouldn't make any sense for him to turn around and say something like it would be even worse. Like my position on that is helping you, because it would be even worse if he sat with someone who read out of the Gospel of Luke and then he went and said something the exact opposite. And
that proves general confirmation.
No. You got to pay attention to the ending of that, the conclusion. And if we're posing that he's not speaking to God, from my position, if he's not speaking to God, that makes it even worse.
Because it's not historical now, right?
Look. Is
that it? Just yes or no? It's because now it's not historical. It's contradicting Luke. Is that why?
It's not historical and it's inaccurate to what he heard. So if
okay, beautiful.
Wait,
okay,
hold on,
I get you.
Let me just give you a very, very, very small example. If
Go on.
I have this book here, okay?
Yeah.
Corrections in early Quranic manuscripts. If
Yeah.
I read from this book and I tell you something out of this book, and you do a live stream tomorrow and you say things that I said, but you add things that I didn't say, and you mix up my story to where there's some truth into what I said, but then there's also falsehood mixed in it. Did you consciously edit what I said, or did you just retell what I gave you out of this book inaccurately?
Beautiful. If there's no good reason to believe that this edit is more true than the previous thing that you said, then it's more likely that he's actually getting stuff wrong. I agree with you. However, this big however, the point is I can address the historicity issue that you have here. I can address it. And even if I couldn't address it, we have independent reasons to believe in the prophet's prophethood. And once we establish that, these things aren't no longer an issue. However, I will not appeal to the independent reasons. I will appeal to in the context of this. However, first we need to concede, at least I'm giving you a good probable account that it's not unlikely, very unlikely, that the Prophet ﷺ is getting it transmitted by someone from the Gospel of Luke, then he edits it. I think, independently of whether I'm Muslim or not, that is way more likely. He hears it from the Gospel of Luke, someone transmitting it, and then he edits it as he pleases because he doesn't like certain parts.
Okay, edits it on. Yeah. That's what you're posing. He edits it likely as he pleases. He edits. He edits it as he pleases on the authority of who?
Now the question is whether his edits are actually historical or not, because we don't know if he's receiving revelation from God or not. Now I'm going to give you the point. The point is that
if you granted me my position where Allah is not in play here, he's editing this on the authority of who? That's why I said that position you just gave is worse.
And this edit is evidence he's getting it from Allah. Actually, this evidence I'm going to give you because he gets it more historical than the Gospel of Luke. I'll show you.
But that doesn't make any. But
I'll show you.
That makes no sense. He's.
Let me get to the point, dude. Let me make the point.
Okay, I gotta write this down because I gotta write that down because I gotta remember that. That dude. You put him sitting with someone reading Luke and Allah in the same boat as to why he can correct it.
No, that makes no sense. The point is that you don't believe it's from God. That's granted. That's
right.
Fine.
You're refuting my point. You can't bring Allah back into the picture.
Brother, this edit shows you he's getting miraculous knowledge. Because how is he editing in the 7th century being illiterate and he gets the historical Jesus so right? That's my point.
It's not an edit.
Now I'm going to give you the point.
But that's the thing, Dean. It's not an edit. It's an inaccurate retelling of what he heard.
Life. Can we agree that the Quran depicts John the Baptist and Jesus?
Wait 1 second. Let me ask you this real quick.
Yeah.
Can we at least agree that it's for my position, it's an inaccurate retelling of what he heard. Therefore, I don't have to agree that it's an edit.
Yeah. From what you can see so far,
it's an inaccurate retelling of what he heard.
Okay. We can agree in what you've seen so far. There's sufficient reasons to think that he's editing something he heard from Luke. However, it seems like he's getting the historical details wrong because Luke has different details from him, and Luke is our earliest source. That's your position so far, and you justified so far in holding that.
My position isn't. My position isn't that
I just steel-manned it, man. All right, go ahead.
Dean, my position isn't that he heard from somebody reading Luke. For you put that second part in there because you said why
not?
Bart, thank you.
It's more likely. Where's the evidence of a conspiracy oral tradition? Where is it?
That being more likely is your addition to what I'm posing.
Okay, can you show me why it's not likely?
I'm saying I don't hold that view because if I were to, it would be even worse for the position that you hold as trying to refute for a conscious edit. What I'm saying is that I'm at least giving Muhammad a little bit of grace to hear the wrong story.
That's fine. Don't give him grace.
The story is
okay.
No. I am because I'm not trying to be super aggressive with how I push back on the conscious edit, saying that okay, well, if you're going to say he's editing something, well, then I'm going to pose that he's doing it on purpose ignorantly.
All right.
I'm saying that he I'm saying he heard a false story and he repeated it as if it was true because he was ignorant of what was actually in the real scriptures. And in that position.
All right, life. I have a question.
5 seconds. I promise. On 5 seconds.
No, brother.
Wait.
I just have a. It's on topic. I'm going to let you speak.
I promise.
I'm going to let you speak.
But I got to conclude. 5 seconds.
Just a quick question.
I just need 5.
Just a quick question.
5 seconds.
You can add that to your answer.
It's going to get jumbled up. Okay.
It's going to be jumbled up. It's on the same topic. Do you have any evidence whether it be manuscript, patristic citation, or a heretic saying it, or some other church saying it? Do you have any evidence that the story in the Quran is found anywhere else outside of the Bible? Show me the evidence.
That's a problem for you. I don't have
No, that's a problem for you because you're saying it's not from Luke.
I actually wait. What's not from Luke? I'm confused. What are we talking about? I might have got mixed up.
It's either he's editing Luke or he's getting a conspiracy oral tradition. I'm telling you, him editing Luke is more likely.
Okay, so you're asking me if you're saying what evidence outside do we have of the story of 3 days and 3 nights, and where did he hear it from?
Yeah.
The argument is that he's hearing stories. He's hearing all different types of things. I didn't ask you who specifically he heard the story from. The point stands, if he's not talking to God, well, then no random person would just randomly say something that differs from a biblical passage that already existed, but aligns with what the story in the narrative that was out there.
What if he believes he has the authority to make his own narrative because he's getting revelation from God?
Well, see that here, but that cooks you because you have to put God back into the position in order to say I'm right.
No. All it takes here is that your hypothesis
trying to clear up
your hypothesis only has to change. Wait, life. Listen.
You're trying to you're trying to clear up everything. I'm hearing from God,
brother. I'm trust me. I'm tracking everything you're saying. Now here, when it comes to the Prophet Muhammad, all you need to say is
you got to go back and put God back into the.
I know what you're saying, bro. I'm not begging the question. Listen. All it needs to be is you need to pause it, brother. I know what you're saying.
Well, then don't put Allah back into the argument.
Brother, I'm not adding him back to the equation.
You just did.
In life, all you need to pause it is you don't have to say he's getting it from God. You just have to say he thinks he's getting it.
But you don't either in this conversation.
Listen to what I'm saying. All you need to pause it now is he thinks he's getting it from God, and therefore he edits as he pleases. That is still a naturalistic explanation where you don't actually believe he's getting it from God. Now, that is a better naturalistic explanation than saying he's getting it from conspiracy oral traditions. I'm helping you out here, bro.
No, you're not helping me out. You're making it worse because now I got to go back.
I'm going to give you the claim now, but I'll let you reply. Then I'm going to show you why the Quranic account is more historical. I'm going to show you that Quranic account is more historical once you're done. Go ahead.
Of Luke is more historical. That's insane because there's literally
no. The Quran's more historical than the Gospel of Luke.
There's literally no. Okay, sure. You could do that. We'll see. Now, here's the thing, bro. My position of him hearing a false story or hearing something that someone said about a biblical passage and retelling that false narrative, or mishearing something while he's out at travels and then going back and retelling the story inaccurately, stands because it's more stronger to say that that is the case, other than someone sat next to him, read a book and told him about it, and then he went back and literally jumbled it all up. That makes it even worse. That shows that his memory wasn't spotty. That shows that this guy did not know what he was talking about, and he was ignorant when it came down to retelling stories that he literally heard from the exact book. Now, the reason why my position stands is because he's ignorant of the scriptures. If he can't read the scriptures, someone has to tell him what was said in the scriptures before. So whether he's, like I said, someone told him, right? Or he heard it in passing, my position would stand way stronger than saying that he sat next to somebody and read it. And on the basis of Luke, it existed prior to him being born. The story was already being told.
I got you. It's more historical. I got you. Okay, let me reply. All right. So, look. All right.
And then there was another point, and I forgot it. That's why I was saying you should just let me speak because I forgot.
That's all good, bro. I'll let you go for a minute. You got everything off your chest.
But because you did that jump in, I forgot the
life. You jump in at times, and I have to forget.
No, I get it. But if you're saying, I get it. But if you're saying 5 seconds, or because it's a necessity to be added into that last point.
You can ask me questions likewise, bro. It's fine.
It would have been better to just let me say that because I forgot what I wanted to say, bro.
It's fine, bro. I forgot stuff too because you interrupted. It's fine. All right, look. Now, when it comes to these sort of claim that you're making, it's 2 sections. One is you don't think he's taking it from Luke. I'm just going to say it's conspiracy oral tradition, so I think it's a very unlikely. And he's not jumbling it up because it's consistent. And it's consistent. John the Baptist and Zachariah are depicted as elevated people without the sins and without these denigrated depictions. Now, I just have a simple question before I bring the evidence that the Quran is more historical here. Do you believe the Gospel of Luke depicts John the Baptist and his family in a denigrated form? I can ask you a question.
What'd you say?
Yeah, the question is, do you believe that the Gospel of Luke depicts John the Baptist and Zachariah in a denigrated fashion?
In a denigrated fashion. I don't know. I'm not familiar how to answer that question.
Like in a lesser, like there's a contrast between Jesus and John the Baptist, where John the Baptist is lesser. Is that going on?
For sure, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Now the point, because obviously both miraculous births in Luke, there's the more miraculous case with Mary, with her birth, and in I think John the Baptist's mother, I think maybe Hannah or something.
How does this prove that your narrative of 3 nights
is more so? I'll get there. I'll get there because it's more
seems
historical.
like you're going to bring up. You seem like you're going to bring up passages
I'm not going there,
other
bro.
than.
I'm not. I just want to establish
verse.
this point that he's more denigrated in the Gospel of Luke in this nativity narrative than in the Quran. The Quran actually gets us more right because look at this. In this academic source, Marcus T. Wald, a commentary on Q. Just let me finish, brother. Let me finish.
If you're gonna do
you
this,
really
bro,
need me to, brother. I'm gonna drop you so let me finish because you're breaking my flow. You're breaking my flow.
Dean, the nativity has nothing to do. Oh my gosh, bro.
Don't break my flow. Marcus T. Wald, the saying source of commentary on Q. You can take notes and you respond because I didn't interrupt you when you were speaking. You can replay to see that. Now, over here, NQ. John the Baptist is depicted in a non-denigrated fashion. And this scholar says that John the Baptist is depicted in Luke in a denigrated fashion. So we would expect that there's a story circulating where John the Baptist and Zachariah aren't denigrated in opposed to this propaganda that the Gospel of Luke and Matthew are bringing. Look what he says here. This is from page 48 of his commentary on Q, the earliest Gospel, the common material between Matthew and Luke. This makes it clear that the beginning with John the Baptist actually is a beginning with Jesus. The Baptist points to Jesus, the coming one. The composition of cycle 1 points to its center. The programmatic address of Jesus. Nevertheless, Q lacks the denigrating depiction of the Baptist as found in the later Gospels, like in Luke. For example, in the Gospel of Luke, the announcement of God's reign starts only with Jesus and not with John. And for Matthew, John is but a mere precursor, as Matthew 3 makes clear. In contrast to these conceptions, for Q, so this is saying from Q, John is more than a prophet. He is more than a prophet. For Q, the turning point of the aeons has already arrived with John announcing his baptism. Accordingly, John and Jesus are both depicted as children of wisdom. Apart from Jesus, the Baptist is the only active character in Q introduced by name. Nevertheless, after narrative cycle, John is not mentioned in Q. Here we can see Q's bridging function between the memory of the historical Jesus, who was a disciple of the Baptist, and the Christological centrism of later Gospels. So to summarize, I'll let you respond. The point is that in the earliest source of Jesus' sayings and of John the Baptist's life in Q, dated around 50 AD by scholars, John the Baptist isn't denigrated. The Quran's conception is there, showing that this is a proof for Islam now. Thank you. You just showed us that the Quran gets John the Baptist and Jesus better.
Okay. I got 2 questions. What is Q?
Q is the earliest gospel of the common material that's between Luke and Matthew. The majority of scholars agree today it exists.
Does it exist?
Yeah, majority of scholars agree.
Physically, does it exist?
Does your conspiracy oral tradition physically exist?
I'm asking a very simple question, Dean. Physically, does Q exist?
Yeah, it exists within Matthew and Luke. Yeah, the common material.
So is it a hypothetical theory?
It's a hypothetical document posited out of necessity.
I didn't ask you that.
As said by John Kloppenberg.
I didn't ask you that. Do the scholars agree that it's a hypothetical theory?
It's a hypothetical theory that's needed for it to make sense between all the data of the Gospels. Yeah.
Okay, so Q is a hypothetical theory. Therefore, how could it exist?
That's needed. A hypothetical theory that's needed.
How could this hypothetical theory exist physically?
Because to best explain the data between Matthew and Luke, Q is posited. It makes the best sense of it.
Yes, because it's a hypothetical theory, which means that it's created to justify.
Brother, can you say it's a hypothetical? It's a hypothetical theory that's needed according to these scholars.
No. It's a hypothetical theory, which means that it hasn't been proven to be true. That's why it's theoretical. Do you know what theoretical means?
Oh my God.
Do you know what something being theoretical? Dean, do you know what it means to be theoretical? Do we have to pull up the definition right now?
Yeah. Just because something's a theory, it doesn't mean that it isn't proven. For example, do you believe in gravity?
Brother, if it's a
You believe in gravity?
it's a
Do you believe in gravity?
hypothetical theory.
Gravity's a theory. You know that, right?
It's a hypothetical theory. Do you agree?
Yeah.
It's a hypothetical theory, right?
Okay, I'm gonna repeat it for the third time.
Which means that the gospel
it's a
of Q
hypothetical. You asked
does
me a question.
not exist.
It's no. It's hypothetical,
All right, bro.
posited out of necessity.
Okay.
The scholars say it's posited out of necessity to make best
Okay.
sense of Matthew and Luke. Okay, if Q doesn't exist, how do you explain the common material? Go ahead. Explain
Okay,
it to me.
let me read this to you, and then we can go back because you're running away from the conscious edit.
I'm not. I just proved to you it's more historical. I'm
No,
not running, bro. Bro, don't
you
shift the
talked
narrative. I
about-
just gave you a historical account.
Dean, you talked about a depiction of John, not whether the story of Zachariah being able to speak for 3 nights compared to the entire term of the pregnancy being historical. You went and showed how there's some sort of talks about John elsewhere compared to the Quran. That did not clear up Zachariah not being able to speak for 3 nights in your Quran being more historical. You jumped to something completely different. Now, let me read this to you. The Gospel of Q is not a physical document that was discovered. So let me hear you say it's a physical document again.
It is a document that we know exists because of the common material between Matthew and Luke. However, we don't have a physical copy today.
The existence is theoretical.
That's correct. Do majority of scholars accept it?
I don't care about that. The existence, dude, the existence is theoretical. Correct?
But I know the evidence. Okay. Give me evidence why it doesn't exist. Tell me what.
The scholars say it doesn't exist. I just read it to you.
Which one? Where?
Dude. Dude. What do you mean? It's a
just because it's hypothetical, it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. What are you talking about?
Dean, please do not.
What are you talking about?
Please do not be dishonest with your audience, bro.
Life.
It's
just because something's hypothetical doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
Dude, it's a consensus that the Gospel of Q is a hypothetical theory amongst scholarly research. Now let's go back to Luke and Zachariah in your Quran, and which one of the stories is actually more historical instead of dealing with a physical document that was never found, as we literally just talked about.
No, the scholars believe it exists. You're equivocating. Just because they say it's a hypothetical doesn't mean they don't believe it exists.
You claimed it was a physical document, but I just showed you that no physical document of Q was
You
ever
don't have
discovered.
to find it to know. Okay, let me put it this way, yeah? If you have a crime scene and you hypothesize in this hypothetical scenario, when I see this crime scene, what's actually happened here is this guy's grabbed a hammer and hit him on the back of the head. That's a hypothetical situation that's occurred. Now, we can't see that tangibly. That doesn't mean that it didn't. That doesn't mean that it didn't really happen. Yeah, now, if someone comes up, wait, let me finish.
You're taking the position and you're blowing it out of proportion.
So it's the same way. Just because you can't see it tangibly, it doesn't mean that didn't really happen. In the same way, just because you can't see tangibly Q, it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Now, John Kloppenberg in his work, Q, the Earliest Gospel, he says that Q is posited out of logical necessity. Do you agree with John Kloppenberg when he says Q is posited out of logical necessity?
Okay, thank you. So if Q is posited out of logical necessity and you're willing to use Q, then I am positing out of logical necessity that Muhammad heard the wrong story and retold it.
Where's your evidence? My evidence of Q existing is the common material.
Thank you. Now evidence.
What's your evidence?
Hold on. Now all of a sudden evidence matters. So when I'm asking you for evidence, hold on. So notice how when I
can give you evidence why Q exists.
Notice how when I'm asking you for evidence of Q, right? Yeah. You're not able to give it to me because the people who coined it, the scholars who coined it, it literally admits that it's a hypothetical theory. And they
out of necessity,
they reconstructed it for answers that they are looking for. Now, the problem that you're having, Dean, is that you are being what is it called? A hypocrite when you're wanting to use Q and saying that it's a logical necessity. But then when I use my theory as a logical necessity, you're saying, oh, no, this doesn't work.
The difference is your one isn't actually out of necessity because you don't have good reasons to believe it. There's no good reasons.
You don't have a rebuttal.
There's no, look, I'll tell you why.
Your only rebuttal is Allah.
Q exists, life. The Q exists because the common material between Matthew and Luke are verbatim the same a lot of the time. The only thing that explains this is either Luke copied from Matthew, Matthew copied from Luke, or Matthew and Luke copied from Q.
Yeah, but Dean, your only rebuttal is Allah.
Most scholars say that Matthew and Luke copied from Q. Now, this earliest source shows us a early historical memory where John the Baptist isn't denigrated. Therefore, I have justification to say that Luke is doing propaganda against John the Baptist family to elevate Jesus.
Okay.
It's so simple.
Dean, notice how your only justification for what I'm posing is Allah. And that's why I want to go.
What?
Bro, because we're gonna go.
I'm
not about to. Q doesn't exist. I'm not gonna debate you about a hypothetical theory. I want to talk about the text. You went to something that doesn't exist and you said that it's physical. You're lying.
Just because it's hypothetical doesn't mean it doesn't exist, dude. What?
Are you? Dude,
if something's hypothetical, does that mean it doesn't exist?
Bro, their hypothetical theory was documented on paper. Yes.
Doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
Their hypothetical, dude. The actual Q that they're claiming existed does not exist. There's no evidence of that.
I'll give you the evidence.
What we have evidence is of their theory that was documented using the gospel authors and what they align with.
Okay, look, if you're going to say Q doesn't exist and there's a different hypothesis, you need to give a different hypothesis that better explains the data. So if Q doesn't exist, is Luke copying from Matthew or Matthew copying from Luke? Those are the only two other positions, basically.
Yeah, according to you, those are the only two positions, but you're not going to sidetrack out of Luke and Zachariah. And
brother, you can't just tell me Q doesn't exist and not give me an alternative.
What? The scholars say it doesn't exist. What do you mean?
Who?
Dude, I'm gonna say this one last.
Just because they say it's hypothetical doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. Dude.
Okay, watch this. I'm gonna read you something.
Yeah, read it.
I'm gonna read you something, bro. Go watch this.
Go on.
Okay. The Gospel of Q is not a physical document that was discovered, but a hypothetical text reconstructed by scholars. It is a scholarly theory used to explain the similarities between the Gospels of Matthew and Luke that does not appear in the Gospel of Mark. Anybody can do this. Anybody can do this, bro. I could have done this myself. And I could have came up with some sort of hypothetical theory, theorizing how this came to be. And then I would put these two, what they have, the similarities together, create that document and say, this is, Q. And among scholars, we can discuss and talk and put the research out. And there would be my Gospel of Q theory out there in the world. I'm not here to talk about that because I'm not here to discuss hypothetical theoretical texts with you. I'm actually here to talk about Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John.
Brother, your whole claim is that the oral tradition is a hypothetical. What? Your whole thing is that the oral tradition is hypothetical.
I never said the oral tradition is hypothetical. What are you talking about, bro? Dean,
do you have it tangibly with you?
This is.
Do you have it tangibly with you?
You're failing, dude.
Do you have it tangibly with you? The oral tradition.
Dean, you're failing. You're failing, bro.
Is the oral tradition that talks about John the Baptist and Zachariah? Do you have it with you?
Dean, you're failing.
Do you have it?
I deal with documented. I deal with documented scripture, not oral.
Okay, where's the documented scripture that John the Baptist
I deal with documented
and Zachariah
scripture.
were highly elevated? So show me.
Oh my gosh, bro. Did you not just say it? Did you not just say it?
Okay, you quoted a scholar. I'm going to quote a scholar here. Scholars did not invent Q out of a fascination for mysterious or lost documents.
Oh my God.
Q is posited from logical necessity. So
congratulations.
So what the point is that scholars posit this because it best explains the data. Nothing else explains it better. So which hypothesis explains the data better between Matthew and Luke, the common material, rather than Q? What better explains it? Go ahead.
Brother, I'm not here to talk about a hypothetical theory. How many times do I have to explain that?
You have to, because I'm saying it's historical, and if it's historical, then I have justification.
I'm not about to go back and forth about someone else's hypothetical theory that you wouldn't even accept in accordance with Islam. If I go into Q right now, I could use Q to debunk Islam as well. And then you're just going to say he's consciously editing Q as well too. The problem that you're having is that
nothing in Q contradicts with Islam.
Sure. Okay. So when Jesus is referred to as the Son of God and refers to the Father, I guess that doesn't.
That's fine.
I guess that.
That's fine.
Okay.
Where in the Quran?
Okay. Call Allah your Father and call Jesus the Son of God right now.
Where in the Quran or the Hadith says
Allah your Father and call Jesus the Son of God?
Because you're strawmanning my position. My position is that in the past it was allowed, possibly, for prophets to call Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala Father. There's no evidence in the Quran and Sunnah to conflict with that. Can you give me a source that conflicts with that from the Quran and Sunnah?
Yeah, nowhere does it ever say that your God allowed Jesus to ever be called the Son of Him.
Nowhere does it contradict it either.
It does, because it does. He says that he has no sons.
Show me.
Your Quran says that he has no sons.
Show your screen.
What do you mean? Show your screen. Brother Dean, stop wasting my time.
I'll wait.
Man.
I want to see the source.
I'm not going to play games with you.
You made a claim. I want to see the source. Where does he say you can't call Allah your Father, or Allah can't call you his son in any context where it's metaphorical?
Does Allah have a son named Jesus?
It's possible in the past. He was termed the Son of God in the same.
According to the Quran, does Allah have a father?
Let me finish my answer. Live. There is nothing in the Quran and Sunnah that contradicts the idea that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala called Jesus the Son of God in the same sense. Let me finish, brother. Let me finish. In the same sense, in Psalm 2:7, where David is called the Son of God as the Davidic Messianic king. In that sense, there's nothing that contradicts Islam with that. No.
Does Allah have a son named Jesus? Is what I'm asking.
In a metaphorical sense, it's possible that he was termed that way.
I didn't ask you if it's possible. Does he?
And the meaning of son, as in servant, in this metaphorical way, yes.
Okay. So, Al-Baqarah 116 says, they say Allah has taken a son. Exalted is he, rather to him belongs whatever is in the heavens and the earths. All are devoutly obedient to him.
Okay. But so
does this
go ahead. Yeah.
So what is it? So is he not saying in that verse that he doesn't have a son?
Okay. They say Allah has offspring. Who's they?
Brother, it doesn't matter. Does Allah have a
son? Yes, it does matter.
Does your God have a son named? Does your God have a son named Jesus?
We'll use Ibn Kathir here. I'll help you out here. Ibn Kathir can help you out. Okay. They say Allah has offspring. Indeed, you have brought forth a terrible evil thing, whereby the heavens and earth are almost torn, that they ascribe a son to most gracious, but not suitable for him, that Allah should beget a son. There is none in the heavens and earth, but comes unto the most gracious as a servant. Verily, he knows each one of them and has consulted them in full counting.
But it is not suitable. It is not suitable that the most gracious, that he should beget a son.
Yes.
So does he have a son, a begotten son named Jesus?
We're gonna get there.
Does he have a begotten son named Jesus? According to the biblical authors,
we're getting there. We need to read. I'm giving you the context before I give you the response. The context for this verse, as reported from this hadith, the son of Adam has denied me. That is not his right. He has insulted me, and that is not his right. As for the denial of me, he claimed that I'm unable to bring him back as he used to be. As for insulting me, he claimed that I have a son. All praise is due to me. It is unbefitting that I should have a wife or a son. Is this in the sense of
doesn't matter in a sense?
Is that yes? It doesn't matter.
So is Jesus metaphorically the Son of God?
Yes, as I'm going to get to now.
No, according to Islam, is Jesus metaphorically
in the
the
past,
Son of Allah?
Yes, brother.
No, not in the past. It doesn't just stop.
In the meaning of Son of God, if you mean in the servant sense, yes, that's fine.
Is Jesus metaphorically the begotten Son of Allah, bro?
In this
according to the biblical
sense of servitude, yes, that's fine.
Yes, no, Quranically.
Yes.
So yes,
Quran, brother. What do you mean by begotten Son of God when you say it?
Quranically, Jesus is the begotten, metaphorically the begotten Son of
the
Allah.
Same way that David is the begotten Son of God in the metaphorical way. Yeah.
Allah. I'm talking about Allah. We're not talking about the Bible right now. Quranic theology.
Quranically, there's no issue in saying that Allah has a metaphorical son.
No, I don't care about there's no issue with saying is he, because the Bible says clearly he is. What do you
mean by begotten?
I mean what you mean. Metaphorically begotten.
Servitude, yes. Servitude, that's fine.
Not servitude, metaphorically begotten son.
Yeah.
You see how you don't know? So let's stop
brother,
playing around
brother,
with Q.
You're doing
So
you're doing
let's-
this game of
let's-
no.
Let's stop
brother,
playing
you're
with
doing
Q. Let's
life.
stop playing
You're
with
doing,
Q
you're
because you
doing
don't
this
even
game.
agree with Q.
Life. You're doing this game.
You don't even agree with Q.
Life. You're doing this game of bait and switch. I told you from the beginning. Servitude,
bait and
servitude.
You wanted to talk about
then
Q.
you ignore the fact that I said servitude, and then you said, "Oh, yeah, begotten."
You
Son
know
in
I'm not
this way.
talking about servitude.
No, what?
I'm talking about him being his
That's
actual
why I was
son.
asking you.
I'm talking about him being his actual son.
Okay. Is other people besides Jesus called the begotten Son of God?
That's irrelevant to the point.
Yes, because that shows that you can be begotten in a metaphorical way.
Stop trying to run. No, stop trying to run off. According to the Bible,
I'm not trying to run off. When you say begotten son, that's ambiguous.
Stop trying to run
because
off.
other people in the Bible besides Jesus are called the begotten Son of God.
Stop trying to run off. You know the Bible teaches that Jesus is the only begotten Son. Stop running. Second of all, your God. Second of all, your God doesn't have. Second of all, your God does not have a metaphorically begotten son named Jesus. So the fact that you even said that is insane, and your viewers should be takfiring you right now.
No, there's no issue. There's no issue if you mean it in terms of servitude. There's no issue.
Well, this will be up, and we'll see if there's no issue later. Luke is okay. So let's go back to
the same way people in the Bible are called the begotten Son of God, and it's metaphorical. Yeah.
Sure, Dean. Sure. So we just found out you really don't actually respect Q. You just want to use it at your leisure. When Q cooks you don't want to use it. And you have to justify and
almost
rub,
all the scholars
you gotta rub shoulders.
Life.
You
Ibn
gotta
Taymiyyah,
rub
Imam
shoulders with
Ghazali,
Q a little
Imam
bit.
Tufi, Ibn Kathir. They all agree with me that it was possible in the past to be used.
Am I asking you about something that was possibly able to be used in the past?
I'm telling you the meaning. I'm telling you the meaning matches the terms.
Am I asking you about something that was possibly be able to be used in the past, or am I asking does your God have?
If your term means what I'm saying,
no, he isn't just metaphorically. I'm giving your position, what you're trying to do. He isn't metaphorically the begotten son of Allah.
Literal, then no,
and then no longer metaphorically the begotten son of Allah anymore.
Say it one more time.
He doesn't stop being, even from your terms, metaphorically the begotten son of Allah. He doesn't stop being that.
No, agreed. It just the title stopped being used.
So is Jesus okay? So is Jesus still the metaphorical begotten son of Allah?
And what do you mean by that?
All right. So Luke was read.
Oh, no. You can stay there for a second. I'm gonna give you a Bible verse right now.
Bro, yeah. All right, I'm gone, bro.
I know, because I know you're gonna interrupt me when I bring it up.
I'm going, bro. I'm going, y'all. Y'all see this dude, Dean? Let me see if I can get my camera on here real quick. Yes, I can. Thank you. Hey, guys, y'all can see straight up, Dean is, he got caught in his foot tracks, and he had to literally kick me down. Now, granted, he was gonna bring me back up, but this is a total embarrassment. He was gonna bring me back up after kicking me for no reason. You guys saw that last point. Kicked me for no reason. He wants to play games with begotten son and what that means. And soon as I went to Luke was read to Muhammad. Soon as I went back to that point, because I was about to cook him, he posed another theory for the conscious edit argument. Luke could have, someone could have possibly read Luke to Muhammad, and then Muhammad went and changed what he heard from what they read out of the scriptures. I told him on the authority of who? He said, well, that's where he got stuck, but then you got to bring Allah in there. Once you bring Allah in there, you're stuck. Now you're saying that Allah has to save the day, and I can just say he was talking to God, therefore he changed it. But wait a minute. So you're telling me he heard something from somebody who was reading something from Luke, then here comes Allah with a revelation, and he's sitting there next to the person, or a couple of days later, no, before you retell it this way. When did this happen? When did this take place? I mean, we don't need to know that, but if we ask some of these thought-provoking questions, we would realize that theory is absolutely insane. Because then we'd have to go with that theory for almost every other passage that he repeats in the Quran that literally destroys Islam.